Hey, we're back to our exciting episode of Attack Protection Time, make up once again by Jake and Nick, as today we do Soul Striker taking on set 22, Red Gohan. Like always, just buttons, links down below, feel free to click there for a reason. But what's going on, guys?
Not much.
Who's playing what?
Jake has brought back Soul Striker. Nick, you have brought back Red Gohan from set 22, which I think you've played before. It's just been a while.
I did? Damn.
I thought you were the one.
Yeah.
I thought you were the one that played it
Kudos to
beforehand.
me.
You obviously had it built to some degree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who doesn't have their set 22 Gohan deck just on standby, right?
You're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
So,
I mean,
honestly, get in the comments. Tell how many set 22 Gohan decks you have just laying around.
So I know that Jake's kind of been bringing Soul Striker out for a bit. It's kind of been his quote unquote counter to our current shop meta. But what made you want to bring this deck?
Personally, I didn't know what to play this week, and I only have a few decks built at this point, and I've kind of got fatigued of playing everything over and over again. So, wanted to play something just a little bit older, but still really good. It's got tons of defense. It's got tons of pressure. It's got a free Z Awaken. I mean, the deck itself does a lot. It was just kind of sad because it got overshadowed by Red getting hit so early on with Gogeta and Sin, and at that point, people weren't ready to move on yet, so they never even gave it a shot.
I think this deck really has a lot of potential. Like you said, the pressure it can put on is just crazy.
It's been a while, but remind me, the Piccolos, which is kind of like the defensive package of this deck, they restand. So like you can attack with them, right? And can't you restand them afterwards?
On the Awaken side, you can restand one. When you're Z Awaken, you can restand all of them.
Okay, yeah. So like you have the ability to go aggro and then still be defensive afterwards.
Yeah, and all of the red Piccolos that you play have blockers, so you'll have some type of defense. And here, we missed it a little bit earlier, but we played the Red Ribbon, or Confrontation with Red Ribbon Army Z extra card, which forces Pan onto his opponent's side of the board, and then I get my Gohan out, which that extra card itself just guarantees you seeing your pieces, because it forces the little Gohan out so you can evolve into the big Gohan. The big Gohan, when you evolve onto it, forces you to get your Piccolo out, which when you play your little Piccolo, the field card would get your big Piccolo. So it has a wild amount of consistency for next to nothing.
And there's another Z extra card for this deck, and doesn't it just freely cycle those out too?
The next extra card is the Special Beam Cannon, which is your like big boost on a Gohan battle card. That doesn't cycle anything. It's just your essentially quote unquote win con, because that was the set they did with like.
Can't you get that out for free though? I'm saying.
Yes, you can when you Z Awaken.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, and Jake, correct me if I'm wrong. You played against a lot of red, seeing that he just immediately gets this card on the board. It's a red extra card. He now has one of the greatest defensive package ever.
Yeah, in our local group, we've talked a lot about how much I hate Explosive Dance, but he just took his Z card out right there. So in my mind, I'm like, maybe he's not really too concerned about playing that. But I don't know if you've noticed my plays this game. All I have done so far is cast one-drop pans and draw cards. I am starving for really anything to do offensively in this game, and meanwhile, I'm just getting pressured with these Gohans and Piccolos that seem kind of innocuous. Like, oh, okay, it's a 15k blocker, but I'm pretty sure this is the Piccolo that guarantee free Z awakens him. Like, if it gets removed or KO'd, which is pretty much the two ways you can deal with it. So, yeah, there's a lot here that I'm having to give up just to not go to 3 life on turn 2.
Yeah, and I was explaining the Z Awaken conditioning. Essentially, the way it works is if the orange Piccolo specifically, I can't remember the name, but once it activates blocker or gets removed from the battle area by a skill. then
That's what
at
it
the
is.
and then at the end of the turn, you will Z Awaken for free. So it doesn't get any better than that, honestly. I mean, granted, there's some decks that do have free Z Awakens, but being defensive at the same time, like, it's really strong. And now that, like we talked about earlier, we have Explosive Dance to back up that play defensively too. Like, I think this deck's in a really good position to have some type of relevancy.
Oh yeah, and like you could just hold that Piccolo over people's head for the entire game. My mindset, I was like, let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. I know he's gonna Z Awaken eventually, so we might as well just go ahead and play the rest of the game with that in mind. But that effect, unless you're playing against like yellow or something, is going to go off. And yeah, I think this deck has a lot of unexplored potential.
The only way, and I don't think you could even do it this turn, but the only way you could prevent it from happening is if you played the hit unison and flipped them back over. But I don't think there's a way you could have done it this turn, anyways. Because the Z
Um,
leaders cannot
I
go on
I
top of the Unawakened.
could pay two, cast it, attack with lead, restand two, pay two -1, and activate it. But I don't think I had a hit in
Yeah,
hand at this point.
I know you do play it. What you play it very low. Like, it's not your main unison. You just kind of play it occasionally, right?
Yeah, I just played two copies of it just to draw some cards here and there. I'm not really like I think I've activated the flip my opponent's leader over maybe once or twice since I've included it in the deck, but it is something that's really good in this meta with a lot of Z leaders where you can kind of stall their awaken and thwart their game plan a little bit. There's a few cards in this Soul Striker list that are basically just meta calls, and that's one of them.
Yeah, we got the Z Awaken out. We just explaining a little bit how it works because it is inherently strong. It's like we talked about earlier. It'll untap all your red Piccolos, so you'll have blockers on your turn. It's a 20k inherent double striker on its own, so it's gonna provide the pressure even without building a board presence. Because since it's a double striker, it's just something that has to be respected.
Oh, I forget that's a double striker. Wow, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
So I know it gains a power boost from the Z extra card. Does it gain anything else from the Z extra card?
On this card specifically, it's if you in conjunction with the leader, it's the power boost. It'll also gain double strike. It's meant for the SR, the one that's in my
A
drop,
drop, yeah.
or the
There
one
it
that we
is.
just played. And the A drop itself, it's really good in conjunction with this deck. It's technically generic. You can run it, but it's one of those where it gets its full effect when you're playing with the leader. Mostly because if you have the special beam cannon in your battle area, it has a auto if you're permanent or auto. I can't remember one of those. If your opponent activates a counter, their leader gets -5k for the turn. So if they want to stop a swing initially, they're going to get punished for it.
And that's a good way of doing that card.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get things out of the way.
Oh.
Unfortunately, we get an
Oh.
off color charge on the top of the deck, but we have ways to manipulate our energy, so we're not too concerned with that at this point. I can't restand the cell because I can only restand mono blue energy. Um, yeah, I can work around this. This isn't really game ending for me, but I did cut down on the overall number of off color cards in this list to pretty much just include those cells now.
I think it was one of the things I talked with you about like a long time ago about those blind ramps, and sometimes they could just bite you in the ass.
Oh yeah.
I've always had bad luck with those.
Yeah, you back in the day when Champa was legal, you'd have one red card in your
Yep.
deck and you'd blind ramp it every time.
That's what happened when I played set 10 or 11 Gohan. So we're almost also at a point where like every swing Nick's gonna start attacking you with is lethal, because that card also just works with any Gohan card, I think, too, right? The ZX card. Like, it's for your leader, it's for the 8 drop, but it isn't for all of them. All the Gohan SH cards.
I think the double strike it has to be an 8. The double strike effect
Okay.
it has to be an 8
Okay.
cost or
Okay.
higher. But
It's-
it can work if I just want to swing with the 3-drop Gohan. I don't want to use too much on it because it's my only card with barrier, so it's kind of the only thing I would have. Not protection per se, but my big piece essentially. So I'm kind of being a little more not defensive per se, but cautious when using that card. But I'm reading Piercing Special Beam Cannon right now. Yeah. Or no, it checks power, so
Okay. That's what it
the,
was.
the double strike gets if it's 30,000 power or more. So as of right now, the 8-drop is the only one that it would work with, but you can get the first effect where you can pop a battle card ignoring barrier 35k power or less. But I normally don't use the piercing special beam cannon that often because a lot of times people will see the 8-drop coming, so it's kind of hard to use technically. So a lot of times it's just meant to sit there and then activate explosive dance if need be.
Yeah.
But
I would say
it was free.
back in the day, it was one of those things where it was like, I dare you to negate, or I dare you not to negate, and I'm going to get this off. But like I said, now today it's your explosive dance fodder.
One of the spicy things I like with this is since we are running a red Z leader, we can run Omega, and since the Z leader is guaranteed pretty much every game, I'm running it pretty liberally. I have it at a 3 of, so you're gonna see your Z awaken the way the consistency works. So just running it's kind of a no brainer.
and look at this pressure. Double strike lead, triple strike Omega, potentially 2 attacks from this cell if he wants there to be. He got a couple other little 15 and 20k swings in here and there. If I was in any color but blue, I would probably be dead at this point.
Yeah, and that was your hand was pretty healthy too. So that was my goal. I knew I wasn't going to get anything really through. It was just this was like the whittles down point of the game where I had most of the control, so I was using everything I can just to waste your resources as possible for the potential kill turn.
Yeah, and then that's what you have to do against these blue decks is just grind them down one turn at a time, and eventually they'll get to a point where there's nothing but just 1 plus 10Ks in their hand, and they eventually die.
That
It's a very
wait,
nice
So
Gohan.
I mean, you played to get rid of 18. I'm sorry, 21, which is smart, but it's 3 cards. I couldn't remember how many cards you balanced. Okay.
yeah, I knew I was taking the loss there, but at the same time, I didn't want him to have a potential barrier blocker. I knew I had to hit it before he did the activate main, so it was the trade. But
Is cell effect just when
is what it
he's
is.
doesn't cell have an effect when he's removed, or is it when he's KO'd or something?
No, if so,
Uh,
when he attacks or blocks, he gives himself minus 15, and
Correct.
then he'll restand.
He has a
So
second effect though. I can't remember if it's KO'd or if it's
yeah,
removed.
when this card is KO'd or removed from battle here, so that's an auto we missed. So that it would have negged 30,000 power, so that should have died.
yeah,
So that was something that was missed. Which honestly, that's a huge miss. That's a really big miss.
And there's the
And you'll,
hit, which
you'll see.
we're here just oh my gosh, this just gives you draws now because you can't unfortunately flip down that leader.
no. But like he said, at last turn, he pretty much.
Since
Nick,
oh, so we talked about this for a second too. I had a
sorry,
Yeah,
continue.
you cut out really
You cut
bad,
out
yeah.
for a good like 10
oh,
seconds.
we sorry, we talked about this interaction too. The pan he tried to swing with under King imposing presence just to get rid of it, and he couldn't because the pan can't be swung at.
Yeah, you just
And
can't attack.
here
with it.
I had to peek the hand. I just had to know what he was working with, and of course he has baby hatch because what blue deck doesn't have their Seeker rare. So since we know it's there, we hit the super combo, and at this point, I know I can't do anything because he's just going to baby hatch immediately. So we have to force it.
I mean, that's
But at
the
this
best.
point, I wanted to waste my Z energy just to avoid the oob,
Yeah, that's very smart.
which again, something that we could have missed. At this point, just drawing, just building up the hand. And the reason why I didn't swing with the Vegito, mostly just because I wanted to draw off the lead. My hand was pretty low at this point. I had about 4 or 5 cards in hand. So I just needed something. And with red, you don't need too much energy defensively. So 2 at this point is enough for me just for floodgating.
It honestly gives you a ton of options in red to open energy.
Yeah.
You can always activate like a testing the opposition and then pay for 2 different negates. Like there's a lot you can do. You can unending awakening.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I like this leader specifically in conjunction with the red defensive stuff, just because it's a 20k inherent base, and then you have Unending Awakening, which could potentially make you 25. I just used the Vegito Secret Roach, gives me a plus 10 boost on your opponent on the opponent's turn, so I'm at 30k base right now, and you can also run Imposing Presence to lower their cards even more. So this leader can be surprisingly defensive.
That's a good hit for Cell.
Yeah, unfortunately, not enough cards get absorbed for me to.
Oh, he has barrier. That's right. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, but still get a big board wipe and a 25 crit out.
And now we have him under Explosive Dance, and the Z energy is low. I explained that he gets that back because it's non-leaders, so it's forcing him to play around it, but he does have enough pressure on board to, and with his leader swing, comboing the Kefla is huge.
Yeah. It really just breaks down comboing a high battle card so you can swing with another card afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, there he goes. I was like, something's happening.
Yeah, I'm debating on how high to combo because I forgot his leader was at 30 for the turn.
And here
have
comes
Imposing Presence.
Golden Ape, yep.
And counter.
Yeah, it's the only good one now, right? Right?
Yeah, it's the only one that's really well. I got what's the other one? The red yellow one. Somebody activated that on me this tournament as well, and that felt really bad. Getting countered for 2.
It's Goku Resistance or something.
Yeah, Almighty Resistance. Yeah, I got Almighty Resistance, and that felt pretty bad. But
that's today's matchup. Thank you all for tuning in. Keep on his buttons, links down below, and yeah, bye.